In today's episode, I will be speaking with my friend Alvaro Rojas, who is a fellow Every Country member from Spain. He runs a popular Instagram and has his own company providing group tours to insane countries like South Sudan and Somalia.
Traveling is the best way to break the prejudice, the stereotypes that we have.
Alvaro and I have been on some crazy adventures together, like a West African road trip, but in today's podcast, we will be sharing our love and appreciation for Spain. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get into it. I should note that Alvaro is pretty sarcastic, so a lot of things that come out of this.
Very, very sarcastic, guys. We know each other for a while now, many years. We traveled together through Spain, West Africa. That really bonded us. Crossing borders in West Africa will bond you to someone really closely. And then we were in Iraq together. So yeah, we always messing around.
And technically we were in Afghanistan on the same day, but I left and then
technically, you can count that. Yeah, we were in the same city. You didn't want to meet me, true, because you were busy grinding something.
I was like leaving, and when you were coming in, it was too hard. First of all, have you ever done that little blood test?
Yeah. I've done the DNA test, my heritage one. Yeah.
What does it say?
You want to know the results?
Yeah, go ahead.
It says 85% Iberian, and then I had 4% Ashkenazi Jew, which is surprising because I would have said Sephardic, not Ashkenazi. But Sephardic, it was more in the Iberian Peninsula, so I don't know how they got there. But Ashkenazi Jew. And then I have 5% Northern African. So obviously
down the street.
Of course, down the street. And the Moors were 800 years in Spain. So it just surprised it's not more than 5%.
Right.
Because everywhere I go in Northern Africa or Middle East, you've been there with me. People think I'm local. So only 5% seems too few.
Blend in. And okay, I'm looking at the map behind you. So I can anywhere in the Americas, you blend in. Anywhere in the Americas.
Anywhere there.
Anywhere north of the Sahara or north, you blend in. All of Europe, you blend in. I think it cuts off, or like Afghanistan, you definitely blend in. I think it cuts off at Pakistan. You don't blend in. Maybe you blend in.
There's areas of Pakistan in the north. You see really like white Caucasian, blonde, clear eyes. So it could be even Pakistan.
India and north of India, east. You don't blend in. So anyways, that's cool, dude. So Iberian, for people who don't know, Iberia is the whole peninsula of Portugal, present-day Portugal and Spain, right?
Yeah.
And there's some crazy history that have happened throughout that land. Are you familiar with like your grandparents and great-grandparents? Are they all from Madrid, or do you know where they come from?
So in Madrid, is a very, very famous word for it. It's called cat. You called someone gato or cat. That has had 4 grandparents born in Madrid. And I don't know anyone that has this, requirement. So it's very, very rare. Most of the people that live in Madrid, their parents immigrated from different provinces in Spain, or even their grandparents immigrated here. So my grandparents, I know they're 2 of them are from Avila, which is 2 hours away in Castilla, and 2 of them from Toledo, so Castilla-La Mancha, also 2 hours south of Madrid, 1 hour south of Madrid. So it's around the area of the center of Spain, but yeah, it's not part of Madrid.
So you're full on Spanish through and throughout, like pride, glory.
I don't know about pride, like you understand this. Like we've been everywhere, and I feel a lot like a citizen of the world. So yeah, of course I feel pride to be Spanish, but I think nationalisms in the end are just a fiction. We create borders, we create national identities just to separate from each other, from one another. So sometimes it's just a very funny concept. Like, what is Iberia? You were saying before very accurately, Iberia used to be a Roman province, and now it's 2 different countries. Like 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago, if you spoke to the people there, they would tell you, I feel Roman, and now we all feel Spanish. So those things evolve, but the human condition is always usually the same, right?
To someone who's never been to Spain, maybe an American or a Brazilian, really wants to go there, and they only have a week of time, how would you tell them to spend that week?
Wow, that's a great question, man. That is a great question. I'm gonna propose like a bold answer. I think most people would say go to Barcelona. That's the popular answer. That's the biggest city or highlight in Spain for most people, because they see it in movies. It had the Olympics, and it got a lot of popularity since then. But I would suggest go to the south. South is amazing. It's influenced by the Moorish culture we were saying before, the Northern African culture that invaded and stayed in Spain or the peninsula for 8 centuries. So you will go to Granada. We've been there together. You know how beautiful it is. There's a mix of Arabic influence. There's a mix of, Berber. There's a little bit of everything architecturally. And, the music is also influenced by it. La guitarra flamenca. Just the food. I think you and I share that in common. I think we like, the blend of cultures, the mix, going to a place and recognizing other identities from other parts of the world. And I think it's just a very special, unique thing. You go to Spain and you don't expect to feel those vibes. You're in Europe,
Yeah.
and it feels like a European country, but then you see all these influences maybe from Middle East or the Northern Africa. So yeah. I think it's a very interesting place.
Dude, Southern Spain is such a wild, like unexpected. I mean, you have that incredible mosque. Is it in Cordoba, right?
Exactly. You love that one. I think it's
dude, beautiful. That mosque, I'm just imagining walking through there, and it's like unbelievable, the textures and the designs. And then you have, what's that place that we didn't get to visit on the hill? It's like that old famous, it's like wonder of the world.
Alhambra?
Yeah, it's not a wonder. But
it used to be, yeah, it got finalists, yeah.
What is that for people that don't know?
It's a palace, it's like a fortress built by the Sheikh, the Khalifa that ruled Granada. Granada was a kingdom for many centuries back in, from the 1000 to 1500. It was its own independent kingdom. It ruled all over the south of Spain, and it had like a Khalifa, like the ones you see in the Middle East, because it was an empire that started in Syria and Damascus that got into the peninsula in the 8th century, and they invaded the whole peninsula except a little bit tiny part of the north in only 7 years, so very, very fast. And so they stayed there. They created cities, their own culture, and of course a lot of palaces. And this one in particular, you're mentioning Alhambra in Granada, is like a world wonder. And it still is a beautiful, beautiful testimony of our heritage, which is a shared heritage, of course. I think this is the beauty. I really like when cultures mix, because I see it as my own culture. They were here for 800 years. I don't see it like a foreigner that invaded. No, I just see something that adds to my own culture.
And I can see how proud you are talking about it, which is exactly why this concept of this podcast makes me happy, because we're talking about what it means to you to be Spanish. That's like super cool. Coming as an American, it's like, obviously we have history that goes back 10, 20, 30,000 years, but only the recorded, and I'm doing, what's it called? These quotations for people who are just
quotation.
The recorded history really goes back, 250 to 280 years. And it's like so new. And the concept of having these 2,000-year-old castles and amazing places doesn't even exist to me. So that's really cool. And I'm so happy to hear you say that. And I want to make a note on Southern Spain. You have that, like, is Moorish? Moorish is not Moroccan.
Yeah.
Like
some people came from Morocco, others came from Syria. But so Moorish is the Northern African peoples that
it's so cool. Like in Morocco, you have these like really like geometrical looking square, shapes and designs and colors on the buildings. And you see that in Granada and in other parts of Southern Spain. And you can just cross, you can really go down to Sevilla, like 2 hours south, cross a boat in like an hour, and you're in Morocco?
Yeah, exactly. No, depending on which ferry you take, you can go to Morocco, you could go to Ceuta, which is a city in Spain, a Spanish city within the African continent. So that is something very unique, a very unique trip. You don't need a passport for that. You just pay €5, you hop on a ferry, and you're in Africa whilst still being in Spain. So, and being in Ceuta, you will see a very even more, of course, the influence is very dominant because it's right next door to Morocco, and a lot of the population is Moroccan, of Moroccan heritage. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting mix and blend of cultures. And I think in Spain, just to put Spain in one liner, I would say it's a very diverse country. So you go to the north and you see something very green, like Switzerland. The food is very different. It changes in every region. And the south is just completely different. It's a whitewashed towns. You've seen the little villages hit by the sun. And it's just a very completely different country altogether. If you go to the islands, if you go to Barcelona, if you go to the center of Madrid, we went to some medieval like cities like Toledo, the windmills. So everything feels a little bit more, medieval maybe.
Let's talk about the cuisine. Paella is the first thing that comes to mind. What are your favorite things to eat in Spain?
I'm a little bit offended that the first thing that comes to your mind is paella after showing you the best jamon that you can try in the world. I think jamon iberico, iberico ham is it's like a delight. It's a delicacy, and it's, if you're asking a Spaniard what is something they're really proud of, I think it's our very diverse gastronomy, but specifically the jamon is something that we all love. And unless you import it, you don't get to try it anywhere else. It's a little bit like caviar or trying some of these delicacies that you find in other countries.
Olives too, man. I gotta love those olives.
Just anything, olives, olive oil. We're the biggest exporter of olive oil. Tapas, of course, but tapas is really, it's really nothing. It's just little dishes, little treats that have now adapted. I guess you call tapas. All these restaurants they're coming up in many cities around the world. It's just Spanish gastronomy brought to you in small little dishes.
I know,
and in very creative ways of just mixing our local produce in easy eatable bites.
It's frustrating that people say, oh, I love tapas, like I just said, because that literally just means I like eating small plates of food.
Exactly. So a tapa is the lid, and that's how it became. In Spain, many bars, you went for a drink and there were a lot of flies everywhere, so they put a lid on your beer so the flies wouldn't get in and try to drink from your beer. And so they had a plate, so they just put some food on it, because might as well, right? But the food was just something they had prepared, maybe some olives or something simple. And now it's evolved to creating little dishes. It's more the concept of the food that has evolved and it's been exported. But for us, a tapa, I don't really understand. Like, I had tapas last night. I know what the concept of your meal was, but I don't know what you ate, because it could be anything.
Alvaro, tell me, what is your most favorite and least favorite part about being Spanish and traveling around the world?
I think my favorite thing has to be, having a common language with many, many other nationalities across the globe. And as a traveler, you've experienced this, the pleasure that you get from fully understanding, or at least 90% of the understanding, when you're speaking to a local. That is incredible, and sharing that common tongue, it just creates that deep rooted level of connection and bond with your experience and the people you're meeting in your travels, that it's unparalleled. So for me, that is for sure, having that Spanish language as a common denominator between all these countries. That is what fills me with the most pride. And I think what I'm less proud of maybe from being Spanish would be, we're very politicized. Everyone's really, really on one side or the other. I feel like that could be the case now in the world right now. We're all very polarized, but in Spain especially, it's one of those countries where it's either you're with me or you're against me. So all these words of like, what is a nation, being an independentist, or pro Spain, anti, it's just very, very exhausting as a Spaniard. I'm tired of the conversation. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I really just want to get on with it. Like, life doesn't really matter. And these things in life don't really matter. We were saying before, borders are just very fictional, and they change very rapidly. So wasting time in this kind of discussions, really, for me, it's just a shame.
Kind of an offshoot question on that. How would you explain the rivalries among Spanish people? Because I know with like Barcelona and Catalonia, but people from Madrid, I know the football rivalries are real, but talk about how people within Spain feel against each other.
Oh yeah, there's many. The one that, of course, I guess is more common for most people, foreigners, to know or to understand is like you said, there's the football rivalry between Madrid and Barcelona. They're the two biggest teams in the world, the ones with more fans, the ones where, the biggest budgets. And so this creates a sports rivalry, but it's transcended that into like more into the society of like the two biggest cities in Spain. So that also comes into play. It's a little bit like New York and LA. So it's a mix of everything in one, steam pot, and it's just the cocktail for disaster. It also roots a little bit in the last years, latest few years. It's rooted with political debates. There's half of Catalonia, the region of Catalonia where Barcelona is from, is in, sorry. They want to get independence from Spain. Half of them want independence, half of them don't. So there's also been a little political debate been spilled in this arena of like, should be just football, no? So everything in Spain is this very, you know us, warm-blooded, passionate, and everything is everywhere. We're just not irrational people that can separate one topic or another.
Yeah.
Okay, this is football, this is, daily life, or this is politics. Everything is put together in one big combo. And of course, there's all kinds of divisions in the country, left and right. I guess this is more common in every other country, but in Spain, it's very, very clear. There's two sides and they do not get along. They never have compromises. They never sit with each other. They never make understandings or agreements. So I think it's a very, polarized society when it comes to politics.
Something I personally love about Spain, and you're a great representation of this, is that it's the most open culture, open-minded, like nudity, like people don't care about nudity in Spain. Like there are nude beaches, you walk around naked, and like for you, it's just not a big deal. Whereas there's a lot of countries that are really conservative, a lot, maybe half of those countries.
The US could be one, like depending on which state.
The US could be one. Yeah, definitely like Eastern Asia, like they wouldn't be cool with that. Most parts of Africa. I mean, Latin American countries can also be pretty open, like Colombia, Venezuela. What I'm trying to get at is that there's not too many places in the world that are just so accepting and so cool with openness. And so talk about that from being a Spanish person. Like maybe why is that the case, and how does it make you feel?
This is a great point. I think it's also comes as a surprise. Like many people think Spain is this very conservative Catholic country because of the Inquisition, because of our past and our ties with the Catholic Church. And although it's true that mostly people are culturally Catholic, like you said, the society, I would deem it as very, very open-minded. And we were one of the first countries to legalize same-sex marriage. A lot of advanced legislation also in our laws. So it's not just like we talk the talk, we also do the walk. So, and I think, like you said, very open-minded. Generally speaking, Mediterranean cultures are very welcoming, warm-blooded, and open in that sense of, hosting someone, being friendly and, open,
You need touch.
Yeah, touchy, exactly. Touchy.
You need touch.
So this is, and I'm going to make a really bad joke. I guess it's been 2 years, so I can make it now. But like with Corona, Italy and Spain were the two first European countries that were badly hit by COVID. Why? Because we all live together, we touch each other a lot, we hug each other. And at the beginning, that change of mindset and culture was very, very hard for us. When suddenly people told us that we need to stay home, we couldn't be close to one another, we couldn't hug each other, we couldn't kiss each other when we met. You've been here, with a friend, we would just kiss each other, hug each other. It is normal. And of course, with the family, it's the most normal thing. So it was a big, big culture shock suddenly being told you need to stay home, don't do this, don't do that. So as you know, we're very open, very touchy, very feely. And I would say Spanish people are we communicate a lot. We're very open in things. We don't keep things to ourselves, and we always try to, make it known. Like I feel bad, I will tell you I feel bad. And this is why I feel bad. Of course, there's all kinds of personalities, but this is the general idea of what the culture is more or less like.
Absolutely, man. And that's how I can tell when I meet a Spanish person around the world, or when I see them. They have this like certain kind of mannerisms or this certain personality. Exactly like you, man. It's just like it's cool. You are Spanish. That is what it is, man. And I want to make another note about football, or to all my Americans watching, we're talking about soccer. When I travel with you, I'm really jealous that you can instantly, with a snap of a finger, put a smile on someone's face and change any kind of negative perspective. Like when we were in Iraq and we were on all these checkpoints, and we actually went inside of these police like little tents, on the side of the road. And like it's very intimidating to give them your passport. The second they see Spain, they open up and they talk about soccer and all their favorite players. That must make you feel really, really good.
I want to go back and change my answer to your previous question. What makes you more like happy to be Spanish? It's probably that, because you've been there, and all these, like you said, tense situations where people are like, this might go either way. Like these guys can get really mad at us and just put us away, or, and then they see the passport, they see Spain, and I feel like people know Spain. It's a good, well-known enough country,
Yeah.
and it's known for the good reasons. It's not really known for any bad reasons. So people kind of like sympathize with Spain, or just feel like it's a friendly country for most nations, and most people know it for football, for soccer. So either through the World Cup or through Real Madrid, through Barcelona, through the national, individual, and from the teams from our league, people have followed us through there, and they're getting a lot of that passion of following. And you've seen it firsthand, how you're in the Middle East or you're in Africa, in many countries, or even Latin America, and people will feel those clubs as their own. They are their own clubs.
Yeah.
And the rivalry in Morocco or the rivalry in Iraq is as fierce as it is in Spain, or even more. People, between friends, one supports Barcelona, the other supports Madrid, and it just, full on get, rage on each other when they play, because it's something really, really passionate for everybody.
That's one thing that most Americans can't relate to, is like the soccer thing. I mean, we're very sports driven.
You'll love it. Yeah.
A lot of us are athletes, and we're like super into sports. I grew up like all sports, but my sports to me were ice hockey, golf, baseball, which are three sports that like almost don't exist. Sorry, golf is very popular in Spain, but ice hockey, no, for sure, no. Baseball, definitely no. So those are just different sports. But the thing is,
no, I mean, baseball, you can share baseball with maybe Japan, Dominican Republic, Cuba, Venezuela, but it's only a handful of countries. And then the same goes for ice hockey, right? And of course, American football, it's just for you guys. So it's a shame you can't really export that. You can't really, feel that connection when you're traveling and meeting other cultures and people, as with football, with soccer. With soccer, I've been in Yemen, in Shibam, the mud skyscrapers in the middle of Shibam. Yeah. It's one of my favorite world wonders.
Yeah.
And I was there just in front of it. Kids are playing football. You just join the pickup game and you score a goal. And you see the excitement and where you're from. It's always a great icebreaker. It's something that everybody loves, and you can see it in almost every country.
I want to bring up a funny story. When we were in Guinea-Bissau, which is in West Africa country, Alvaro, he sees a bunch of 18-year-olds playing football, and Alvaro's like, yeah, I'll join them. And it was so humid outside. You must have run for maybe 10 to 15 minutes max, and you were like this close to passing out. Remember that, dude? You were covered in sweat.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
I'm 31
Actually,
years old.
It's the story of my book for Guinea-Bissau. I wrote a story for every country, and that's the story for Guinea-Bissau, because I almost passed out. I almost died out of the exhaustion, because I didn't measure. I was just sprinting with those 18 or 15-year-old kids, and I was 31. It's not that I'm old, but I definitely wasn't fit enough to just play every day, and I just sprinted like crazy. And like you said, it was super humid. It almost cost me, man, dearly.
As travelers, we realize how diverse the world is becoming. And it's almost like a lot of indigenous cultures are lost. I mean, the Caribbean is a good example. They had the Tainos, which are the indigenous, and now it's like a mixture of West African and Latino and European. Yeah. Do you think it's a good or a bad thing? Or how does it make you feel that let's fast forward 20,000 years from now? There's going to be very, very, very few places left in the world, very few, that have the same physical features, that are eating the same food. Because I'm an example, Deanna's from the Philippines. When we have kids, we're going to have half Filipino kids, half American kids, half Jewish kids, half Catholic kids.
Essentially, you're saying that you're not going to be able to tell where someone is from.
We are slowly losing, or rapidly losing, cultural identity, and that's why I think it's great to preserve it as best as we can. I could argue that it's a beautiful thing that we're all being interconnected, that it's a really coexistence of the world, and we're all kind of part Jewish, part Muslim, part Catholic. But I do think it's also really important to keep these traditions. When you go to a remote part of Indonesia, you want to be able to experience that really local feel. So in 20,000 years from now, what do you think the world's going to look like? And do you think it'll be a good or a bad thing?
That's a great question. Let's hope there's a world to still live in, because I don't think it's that easy with climate change and everything. I don't think we can just give it for granted we're going to be here in 20,000 years. Hopefully we will. And I really hope that we manage to find a way to live sustainably, that we don't overpopulate the world like we are right now and over consume all the resources like we're doing right now. But let's play along and say that we managed to do that, and we tackle that huge problem. In terms of culture, I think it's a double-edged sword again. Like, globalization is great because it enables interconnection between different cultures, and it tends bridges. It creates like something we always say, both of our channels. We try to debunk all these prejudicial ideas of a nation and a country and a culture. So I think globalization helps with this because there's social media, there's information access through internet for everyone across the world to learn or see what there is out there and just learn, even though they can't travel. It enables everybody to be connected. So that's a great thing. Have that freedom, have that ability. For many cultures, they don't have the privilege to travel with a strong passport or don't have the resources to do it. But I also, of course, like you said before, and very, very accurately, I'm a little bit worried because I'm a lover of cultures and peoples and different traditions. And I feel like if we're heavily connected and everyone's, drinking from the same source of culture, whatever that is, maybe Hollywood has a big effect, or Western media, of course, has a big drive. Maybe say there's only two sources of culture in the future. No, I would feel sorry, man, because in the end, we all have these differences and nuances to our human condition, and they're beautiful, and we need to preserve them. Different languages. I love speaking English, but I think we should preserve other languages that are not so widely spoken. So we can use English, Spanish, and whatever languages as main conductors of global communication, but then we need to preserve the ones that are not so widely spoken, so that people in the future still enjoy that heritage and that history that we all share and we all have. So I think it's, like you said, it's a very hard balance that we need to learn to do. And yeah, giving that option of being everywhere you go, have that freedom to move, roam, connect, discover, but also preserve our local identity. That's why, I don't know, you go to places like Saudi Arabia or the UAE, you've been there many times, well, not Saudi Arabia, you have to visit Saudi, that's your last country.
Are you rubbing it in?
But you've been, no, you probably will have visited by the time this is launched. But if you go to the UAE, for example, it's a country that, has been modernized at a really rapid rate. It's the biggest example of globalization in the recent decades, but it still has a lot of that heritage. You still see a lot of locals wearing their traditional gowns when they go out in town, when they go to the big malls. So there's a nice mix of that globalization. You go to a Chanel store to buy a very expensive purse, but you do it in your local gowns, and everyone is very proud of that identity. And they love their food, and they go to McDonald's one night, but the next night they have, their feast, local feast. And, so I think it's very important to keep that balance. And one day you wear the casual jeans, and the other day you wear, whatever feels more homey, and having that freedom, of course, but also fostering it, trying to do the effort to preserve that tradition and that, identity.
One final question for you. And this is a question that I ask everybody that I interview. If you could give one message to everyone listening in the world, what would be that message? I'm
not going to jump on your wagon, but I really like your message of just go. The two words, your two favorite words. I really love it. And I would just encourage them to travel more. Traveling is the best way to break the prejudice, the stereotypes that we have. And don't listen so much to what people are saying. Don't listen to what I'm saying, what you are saying. Just go and look for yourself and make your own ideas and impressions of the world. And just to know that, for those that are a little bit fearful at first of just jumping in the travel world, just know that 99% of the world is good, and that we're all in the deep-rooted level, we're all essentially the same. So we all share the same desires, goals, fears. We're all human in the end. And so for me, it's my favorite thing to do. just get out there and explore and meet strangers and discover new things, and just blow my mind every time with how identical in a deep level we all are.
Amazing, man. Wonderful answers. Thank you so much. Alvaro Rojas, how can people find you? Where can they find you on social media? Talk about your book real quick.
You can find me in Wanderets and on Instagram, or just Google Alvaro Rojas. You can read my stories from every country in the world on wanderets.com. My book is over there. And you can even travel with us on Wander Expeditions, my travel agency. So we will take you to a few of these beautiful destinations across the world, really unique, that will break and shatter the stereotypes that you currently probably have.
Yeah, Alvaro launched Wander Expeditions, which is essentially group trips, but they don't go to France or Italy. They go to Syria or I was going to say Afghanistan, but I just bit my tongue, unfortunately.
We went to Afghanistan. We're no longer going to Afghanistan, but we do,
Libya, South Sudan.
Countries that have been misrepresented by the media, Venezuela, Syria. We're probably going to Iran when it opens.
Amazing.
We have so many destinations on the list. So just hit us up, Wander Expedition, and on Instagram, and just stay tuned for the trips because they're really, really nice.
Yeah, and I can vouch that traveling with you is pretty awesome. So if anyone's interested to go to some off the beaten path, magnificent places, and check out Wander Expeditions. So thanks a lot, dude, for your time. Appreciate it. And
it was a pleasure. Take care, bro. See you soon. Hopefully I get a visa, US visa, and get to visit soon, man. I really miss the beautiful state of Arizona.
Inshallah, bro. Take it easy.
Ciao, ciao. Bye. Love you guys. Bye-bye. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast episode. If you feel inspired by this conversation, please share it with somebody who would enjoy listening. And if you're here for the first time, make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Also, don't forget to leave a review. Every week, I'm going to be looking through them and highlighting my favorite one. And with that all being said, I will see you guys next week.